Every biker boasts about how much horsepower their bike makes at the back wheel. Well, everyone except 400 riders, that is. But few realize that more power could get to the back wheel if their chain was cleaner. So today, I'm going to show you how I got my chain from looking like this neglected mess to looking like a spoiled brat, and hopefully get an extra much needed horsepower to make its way to the rear wheel too. So this really is how my 390 Duke's chain currently looks, and I'm not proud to admit it. Although it is properly tensioned, it's grubby and has a bit of surfaced rust on a few links, because I didn't lube it up after the bike's last wash. I've been putting off cleaning my chain for far too long because I don't have a set of paddock stands, and quite frankly, it will be very difficult without them. But the good news is, I finally bought a set for the workshop, because we all know that just about every single bike job is 10 times easier with a set of paddock stands. And your bike looks 10 times sexier on them. If you only ever lube and adjust your chain, but avoid cleaning it, all that excess lube will build up over time. Half of that built-up lube will cling to your chain, attracting even more grime to stick to it and wear your chain and sprockets out faster than normal. And the other half of the build-up will get flung onto your rear wheel, making a greasy mess no biker wants. Not to mention, the excess lube between the links will add more friction within the chain, robbing the bike of some power getting to the rear wheel. It's not going to pinch half of a superbike's 200 horsepower, but it could make a measurable difference on a 125 with 12 horsepower. After all, there is a very good reason why all sporty bikes have a chain and sprockets instead of a belt or a drive shaft, for example. And that's because this is the most efficient way of transferring power to the back wheel. So we should probably take care of it. All you really need is some chain cleaner and a cloth you don't like. But tools to remove your front sprocket cover, a chain brush, sexy new paddock stands of course, and a few household items will make the job faster. So using a proper chain cleaner from a well-known company like Motul or Motorex or whatever you like to use is a good idea, because that won't dry out your O-rings, causing them to eventually fail and exposing all the grease in your chain rollers to the elements, because that will be the end of your chain. But it's not as important as companies like this want you to believe, because after all, they're trying to get you to buy this product. So if you haven't seen Fort9's video where they compare all different types of chain cleaners, I highly recommend that you go and watch it, because it is a brilliant video and it's very informative. But at the same time, I don't believe that that is the be-all and end-all of chain cleaning. I personally believe that no matter what you use to clean your chain, whether it's a proper chain cleaner, kerosene or a light degreaser, what you need to do is use that to clean off your chain, instantly rinse it as well as you can, then dry it off and apply a chain lube so that you can protect your O-rings. The problem comes when you use any chain cleaner and let it sit for hours on end, because then it will most likely dry out your O-rings, or it will seep past the O-rings and break down the grease in your rollers. Ultimately, chains will have to be replaced sooner rather than later anyway, since they are a part that wears. So do your best to look after it, but don't get too pedantic, because it won't be sticking around for your bike's entire life anyway. Unless you fancy a stained garage floor, doing this outside is a must. Removing the front sprocket cover will usually reveal built-up chain lube that will just keep dirtying the chain every time it comes past, if not cleaned out as well. And this is where a brush with hard bristles will come in handy to dislodge the sticky buildup. I then attack the chain with a liberal coat of chain cleaner and let it sit for a few minutes to soak in and do its job, and that it did. While I waited, I also drenched the front sprocket area, but sometimes what you really need is just a screwdriver to scrape the gunk off. That's got to be at least 5 kilograms of weight reduction. I then agitated it with my brush that lets you clean 3 sides of the chain at once and hosed it off. And after just one pass, Most of the rust and grime was gone, and the chain was looking better already. With the majority of the grime gone, I ditched the brush and switched to a faithful cloth instead. It requires a special technique, but is very effective. But unfortunately, all that lube had to go somewhere, and that place turned out to be the wheel and me. So after a thorough rinse, a quick wheel clean that proved orange is indeed the new black, the front sprocket cover could go back on. I then dried the chain with compressed air and quickly lubed it up for both of our protection. I would say that looks about 46 times better than before, and all for about an hour's worth of elbow grease. I'm 90% sure it's all in my head, but I swear it feels easier to push because there's less friction. So you should only have to do a proper chain clean like this every 6 months or so, depending on how many miles you do. And then during every regular bike wash in between those, just use a cloth and some soapy water to wipe your chain down. That way it will keep the chain looking good, it will help it last longer, and most importantly, it will make proper cleans like this much easier next time. But anyway, let me know when last your chain got some TLC, and hit the like button if this video motivated you to clean yours. And I'll see you on the next ride.